the voice of the Caribbean. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube. Yes, good afternoon and welcome back. It's Suzette Speaks live on your radio right here, South Florida's 24/7 Caribbean American radio platform. What's up, y'all? It's Voice of the Caribbean. Yes, I have a special guest call. I'm so excited because she heard my call, she heard my cry. If you don't know, this is headline news. We give you the updates you can most certainly can use on the Suzette Speaks show. Of course, I give you some of my opinion. Again, my opinion does not reflect the opinion of this radio station or its owners, and neither do my callers. We're just trying to inform you of what's going on. The top news, of course, is the weather. It is freezing out here in the United States, across the country. We are seeing record-breaking cold, right? So check on your family members from Atlanta to Louisiana, up in Jersey. Our Midwest was experiencing negative degrees. It's crazy how cold it is in some of the country. And we also are updating you on what is going on in politics. Yesterday, I took it easy on you. We did happiness, an author of a book about happiness. He'll be back next week. I already told him the show was so well received. We want to make sure we keep people's spirits up and motivated and light for some of the show, because I don't want you guys to think I'm just trying to hit you all over the head with pure politics and everything that Mr. Trump is going to do. It's going to be a long 4 years, y'all, though. But we do have to pay attention. The top courses of action that we've seen that Trump has taken so far is that with respect to the Civil Rights Division in the United States Justice Department, which are the lawyers who work on behalf of the people to protect the civil rights of individuals. Civil rights, again, are all encompassing. We think black versus white and things like that. No, 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 no. Every human being has civil rights. That includes whether it's to be treated fairly based on their disability, whether it is to be treated fairly based on their age, whether it is with your gender, etc., along many lines. Do people sometimes face in businesses and in everyday life challenges to be treated equal? And the Civil Rights Division brings cases, therefore, on behalf of the United States citizens against people who are not exercising equality in how they're doing business or how they're operating as a governmental agency. As I was going into right before the break, when it comes to also, for example, police departments and how they're treating their citizens when they're being arrested or taken into custody, or even just following the rule of law when it comes to how immigrants, here we go, are treated. We're seeing a lot of changes here in the United States. So I have one of my colleagues here from Voice of the Caribbean. She is also a lady lawyer, an attorney with several shows. And I was just chiming in and saying, boy, Opa Lee does immigration. I don't do immigration. And I'd love to hear her take on what is happening within the Trump administration and how she thinks this will affect everyday people. So without further ado, thank you for the first time on the Suzette Speaks show, Miss Opa Lee. Madam Esquire, how are you?
Yourself, and thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. I'm grateful that she made the time. She's a busy lady and she's always working hard on behalf of our clients. So I was trying to provide some perspective when it comes to what we're seeing on TV. All of a sudden, we're seeing pictures from the Trump administration rounding up people. I'm seeing that Trump has now ordered the United States military to send 1,500 military members to the border to help ICE agents to detain the immigrants who are coming across undocumented. Can you give us the latest in terms of updates of what people need to know when it comes to the current situation for immigrants in the United States?
Absolutely, Suzette. You know, if I weren't seeing this really and truly in live and in living colors, I would think that we were watching a movie replay or something, because it is very, very crazy what is happening. The reason why President Trump was able to do that is because in one of his what we just talked about in terms of sending out the military to the Mexico border is because he declared in one of his executive orders, he declared a national emergency at the U.S. border, which now he gave him the power to deploy the military to the southern border. And so I've even heard from colleagues and from prospective clients who they've been, putting everybody in. They've just been doing a lot of raids. It is not fake news. It is not false, guys. This is really, really serious. One of my colleagues just told me this morning that one of her clients' son, who was just standing up at his gate, was actually taken into custody. And mind you, and this happened in Virginia.
Wow.
A United States citizen. Yes, he's actually a United States citizen, was born in Maryland, and now he's in custody. Of course, she's meeting with the mother right now to go ahead and get more details. He did present the ICE officers with his U.S. passport and birth certificate. And you know what they said, Suzette? They said, oh, it's fake.
Wow.
By the way, we see the ammo, we see where they're going with this. And so in this net that is being thrown out by these ICE officers, I think their command, their direction were just to round up all black and brown people, or as much black and brown people as possible. And we all know, and you know this is called racial profiling. And so they just round them up, and then we'll deal with later on whether or not they have the proper documentation. But I think that's the ammo so far, over 500. Where we see the numbers, there's a lot of people. It is not fake news. It is not false news. It is actually happening. Another thing that I think the listenership should know about, or should be cognizant of, is that if you were, released from ICE custody and you had to be reporting, because sometimes they release you and then you just have to report. The bad news for you, if you get a phone call, or if you usually do check-ins via telephone and you get a call to come in, chances are you're going to be taken into custody and removed.
Wow.
Course of that, again, my colleagues have been saying that, yes, a few of our clients got the phone call to come in on Monday at 9 o'clock. We know what that means. They're going to remove them. And so if you already had a removal order, you're going to be like first priority because they know where you are. That's a fact. You already have an order, so it's very easy for them to take you into custody right now and put you on the next plane. It's going to be a mess of 4 years. Yes, Donald Trump came out very strong with this. We know that's what he said leading up all the way through his election. He said he was going to make immigration his priority. He said he was going to remove or do this mass deportation. And I have to say, Suzette, honestly, I don't know why anybody's surprised, because it's what he said he was going to do. And so whether or not he basically has to please his followers, right?
Yeah, he's trying to please the base.
Oh, no.
For sure. And I wanted to ask you, Attorney Opal Lee, joining me right here on the Suzette Speaks Show Live. We're talking about the executive orders of Donald Trump with relation to the immigration issue. Of course, this election, we heard a lot about immigration. It was a bigger issue, I think, than even Democrats realized. And we could go into a whole nother discussion, my love, when it comes to, was it an issue? Was it the constant barrage of media and social media coverage that made it an issue, and how people felt about it? How was that shaped, and what do people feel about it now? Now, I wanted to ask you, because it seems as if there is going to be more of, and this is my question, a targeting of larger, more liberal leaning, in other words, more Democratic leaning cities than maybe in the rural parts of this country. Do you think that is something that we'll see maybe in New York, maybe in South Florida, maybe in Chicago, and some of the city centers where Republicans know that there are a lot more Democrats? Or do you think it will be even-handed across the United States?
No, absolutely. You hit the nail on its head. They're going to be targeting where they believe more immigrants are, and that's why, as a matter of fact, the very same day of the inauguration, remember, they sent out more than 200 ICE officers were sent out to Chicago to do the mass deportation there. And so they're targeting these communities that they know are leaning towards or more favorable for immigrants.
Well, we know, again, here in South Florida, we have resources like Opal Lee. Again, she is an attorney that serves all throughout the country, but here in South Florida in particular, those who are facing issues with their immigration status. This is something that is real. This is something that Donald Trump campaigned on. And again, he didn't waste any time. We're seeing a lot of movement. At first, I thought it was just rhetoric. No, there is more movement now more than ever. So if you need to get yourself what we call sorted out, if you need to start working on your paperwork, I know people who have lived in this country for 20, 30, 40 years and have never filed for citizenship. I know people who are, always planning to go back. You know how we do, Opal. Everybody want to go back home and retire back home and hey. But they've been living. They have been paying taxes here. They have been governed by the laws of here, right? What is elected and who is elected and ends up determining most of their life and what they are free to do or not to do, right? And they have invested in the system that is here. So what can people do if they are nervous, if they have family members that are nervous, or people who have been here legally but are not citizens? What should they be doing? What would you advise them to do at this moment?
All right, so we have something called Know Your Rights. Just please know that you do not need to open the door. You have the right. You do not have to open the door to let the officials into your home. You can demand to see a warrant. They still have to have a warrant, guys, to come into your home, your abode. And you want to make sure that that warrant is signed by a judge, okay? So make sure if it needs to have your correct name, that's number one. It needs to have your address on it, and it needs to be signed by a judge. If it's signed by an ICE officer, it is not a valid warrant to take you in or to enter your home. You also have the right to remain silent. Don't joke about this. Please, too many times I see, people are taken into custody or addressed by the ICE, and they just start talking about where they're from and talking about their different things. No, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to lawyer up, tell them that you have an attorney. If you don't already have an attorney, maybe you should seek an attorney of your choosing. Of course, we're talking about an immigration attorney here, and have, maybe retain that attorney, just to have a file so they could give you what's called a G-28. A G-28 is a letter of author, is showing that you're represented. That way, quickly, the attorney will be notified and then can represent your rights so that you're not taken and just come and explain to Jamaica or wherever your country of origin is. You have the right to speak to a lawyer. So please, you just need to know those rights and exercise them. And
make sure you're covered. Yeah. Last but not least, I want to ask you. Yeah, it's no guarantees. This is a whole different ball game because again, the government has a mandate now from the president. Every different agency, if there are people that even thought different, they're trying to literally purge them from the various agencies if they have been long-standing. We didn't even get to that because I know I have to go through some of these executive orders with my people and break down what does this mean for us as citizens and the government that is supposed to protect and serve us. But I also want to ask you about this, and before you go, the idea that there are ICE agents that are going to be able to go into churches and into schools. I think that, again, was said to strike fear in the hearts of immigrant and undocumented folks, families and circles. And I also wanted to ask you, and I don't know if we have enough time to discuss it. I'd love for you to come back, my darling, because even the duty of a person that knows that another person is undocumented, that has become called into question. That is, do you have an obligation, whether you're the preacher, the pastor of that person, whether you're the employer of that person, whether you are the friend and neighbor of that person, do you have the obligation under the law to turn them in? Because I heard that also being mentioned. So first and foremost, can you address whether ICE agents or whether federal agents, military agents now, because again, Trump is now brought the military into the utilization of their resources for the purposes of protecting the border, as he calls it. What about that? Can people expect ICE to go into schools and churches?
Absolutely. That is something where during the Biden administration, they had said, listen, this is a safeguard. We want people to go to church. We want people to go to school. No, not with Trump. He has basically lifted that. Nowhere, the bottom line is going to repeat, nowhere are immigrants safe with this administration. It's not going to happen. You could be going to the hospital, for example. You could be taken to custody. ICE officers could meet you right there at the hospital, and they will put you into custody.
Wow. And if they are taking you at the church, they still need a warrant, correct? Before they can arrest you or before they can take you into custody?
No, that's still a warrant. That's in public spaces. You would need a warrant if you're going into someone's house.
So in the church or in the school, anybody can get taken into custody.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Absolutely.
Wow. As far as the duty to report or the duty of others who know about undocumented people, how far does that extend? And how do you think the law will be applied under, Trump? I know there's, conjecture. We don't know for sure. But what do you think when he is trying to bring in this idea that if you know about a person who is undocumented, you have the duty to report them or help law enforcement apprehend them?
That's the thing. You don't have any, well, we speak about it as immigration practitioners here. Nobody has a duty to turn anybody in. They don't have a duty to help. We're not law enforcement officers. It is not our prerogative to be helping you how to arrest my mother, my father, my sister or brother. No, that duty will never be done. And I know that would be challenged to the highest extent of the law. But don't get me wrong. Trump will try everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, to make sure to say that, but no, I'll stand very firm on that. That of course, with the employers, they have to do that I-9, and if you are deemed as an employer to be employing someone who is undocumented or does not have the proper legal documentation, yes, you can be fined.
Awesome.
That's not something new. So there's already safeguards in that, or there's things in place there.
So next week we might have to call about Miss Opali, because I want to talk also about this idea that Trump has signed an executive order to remove birthright citizenship. You and I know that in the Constitution of the United States, and it has been upheld by the Supreme Court on several occasions, 14th Amendment, sis, and this idea that he signed an executive order. What were your thoughts when he signed that executive order? And does it have any teeth? Does it now change people who were born here but whose parents were not properly documented? Does it change their legal status at this time?
All right. So here's the thing with that usually people would laugh and say this is a big joke when he came up with that, but I'm not one of those who laughed about it. Yes, I know this was challenged way back in the 1800s when it was, I think his name was Wong Ark, and he was challenged and he prevailed on that, which shows that the 14th Amendment, as long as you're born on U.S. soil, except for certain exceptions. So, for example, if you are born to parents to diplomats, that's a limited exception, a narrow exception. But what President Trump was targeting is because the 14th Amendment says all persons born or naturalized in the United States, and this is the part, and is subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States. So what Trump is basically saying is that if you're just visiting the United States, if you're undocumented, you are not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And it's on that basis he's thinking that the 14th Amendment could be challenged. But listen, the courts already did that. The Supreme Court already talked about this in the 1800s. This was actually ratified in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. But yes, he can challenge it, and I don't think he'll prevail. But by the way, the Supreme Court has just announced that it has, not the Supreme Court, I'm sorry, a federal judge has temporarily blocked Trump's order seeking to end birthright.
Wonderful.
So that's right now, yeah.
So temporarily blocked. I'm going to have to let her go. But Miss Opali, attorney Opali, again, if you listen regularly, which you should be, to the Voice of the Caribbean, you will hear her weekdays, even on weekends. I enjoy. She's part DJ, part attorney is what I realized too, girl. You have to show me how to play some of those wonderful tunes that you do within your show. She also gives outstanding legal perspectives. And again, if you're looking for an attorney, you can do your research. But Opali is also a locally known practitioner who has handled this type of law. So again, Ms. Opali, how can people reach you in case they have any additional questions?
Thank you. So it's 954-358-2020. That's our office number, 954-358-2020. Or you may visit our website, www.flowjamlegal.com. That's www.flowjamlegal.com. Or as Miss Suzette just said, you could join me tomorrow right here on the Voice of the Caribbean from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. We'll be talking about immigration matters and all things legal. So from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The impromptu dropping. I appreciate you, sis. I can't wait to connect with you more. All right. You take care. Shout out to Miss Opalie Flow Jam Legal. Thank you so much. You have a great day. Awesome. I am grateful for her because, again, when you see some of these headlines, what we try to do here within the community that we've built at Voice of the Caribbean, again, this is a station for the community, by the community. My show, Opalie's show, as she said, especially during her show, she gives advice free of cost. If you have questions, that's the time to call because she'll have to charge you on any other day. But she does come on every week and different times. And tomorrow she'll be on from 6 to 8, as she said. So make sure you check out her show. And I thank Attorney Opalie for coming through on the Suzette Speaks Show Live. Again, our sisters-in-law, I big her up as a person who has built a wonderful law firm that is serving the community. And again, she and I both are hosts here, bringing information to the people so that we can make sure our folks have accurate information about what is happening and how they can best respond to it. So as I'm going to close out the show, I really appreciate, again, my special guest, Opalie, my guest from yesterday, Mr. Layton O. Campbell. He'll be back next week. I want to continue to pour into your spirit when it comes to deciding how to be happy, even with everything that's going on. I could go even more in depth. I have my notes here, but we're going to put a pin in it. I'm going to be back next week. Don't worry. Every Thursday and Friday, I'm here for you from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And I want you guys to also follow me on social media, Suzette Speaks. Shout out to the people that followed me yesterday. I appreciate you. Again, the feedback on yesterday's show was so overwhelming that you enjoyed talking about the pursuit of happiness. Again, I had a fantastic attorney, Jamaican-American lawyer, business owner. Actually, he does commercial insurance sales. And he's been doing that for some time. He's also now an author, and I'm going to bring him back next week. I told him, yo, can we book you again? Because the discussion about happiness in the turmoil that we're experiencing, it is super important that we also maintain our own internal happiness, that foundation that cannot be shaken, right? So we're going to talk more about that and do a little bit of the politics, do a little bit of self-development and growth throughout this show. The new season is here, Suzette Speaks Show Live. I appreciate you. If you are looking for a platform to bring your business to the Caribbean American targeted audience here in South Florida, this is where you need to be. Voice of the Caribbean Radio. We do interviews. Of course, you can run a partnership, public service announcements, etc. With whatever you got going on in the community, we want to bring it out to the folks. I'm appreciative of each and every one of you listening. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Catch us. We will be at Cocoon on Sunday. What's up, Cocoon? We'll be having happy birthday, my friend Busy Signal himself in the building. Come this Sunday. We'll be out there with none other DJ Tony Mataran. I cannot wait. Y'all don't know. I cannot wait for Sunday. Busy Signal, Tony Ma alongside Tony Mataran. Make your reservations at Cocoon, KEKOON.com. It's been Suzette Speaks. Like, follow, share. Big up to all those watching. Shout out to all my YouTubers. Thank you for watching. Make sure you follow, like, and share. I'll catch y'all next week. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Fort Lauderdale.
The man who gave you the biggest birthday anthem of the year. Busy Signal. It's celebrating his birthday.